Hello everyone, I'm going to talk about the factory methods pattern. The factory methods pattern is one of the simplest design patterns when we need to create objects. So the most straightforward way is to direct a new instance. And however, the factory methods pattern replace the direct initializations. So there have the very original problems. Why do we need to replace the traditional new? So consider if we create all the objects using the new statements, if this object is widely used and then one day its constructor or class name change. So we need to modify all the new in our code. So according to the law of the Demeter, we should minimize direct dependency between the class. This minimize dependency of the class. By encapsulate frequently used objects creating logic within a factory class, we only need to call the factory method to get an object. If the class changes, we only need to update the factory, but not the rest of the code base. Additionally, some objects requires more than one simple new to create and may need extra step for the configuration. So let's see how we use the simple factory first. So this is kind of like a fruit, right? So we have the abstract class, which is called fruit. And Apple we want to create this kind of like a product, need to extend the fruit. So we need to write this one. And also another product is orange, so also inherent from the fruit. Right, so we can call this one to create this one. Originally we use this one, right? But for here we kind of like use the fruit factory. We will have the functions based on the input, right? If the input factory gets some information from the client, it's called, we want to Apple, so then we return the new Apple. So it's kind of like this way. You didn't know how the Apple knew it. So factory help you to do that. So when we use the factory to create objects, it will become like fruit, right? We want the crew here, and the fruit factory gets fruit, and then just create it, initialize it. So we don't have to use the new. For the fruit factory, help us to new the fruit. So however, this still have some issues according to the open close principle. Software entities like classes, models, and the functions should be open to extensions, but closed to modifications. We want to add a new fruit like peach, right? We need to modify the factory methods, which goes against, right? As the factory should ideally remain unchanged. So we can use simple factory to the factory by the extension here. Abstract class, Apple factory, override it. This allows us to use different factory to produce different type of fruits. If we want to add a new fruit, we can simplify, create a new factory without modify the existing code. So in this ways, we implement the factory method pattern, hide the object's creation details behind the factor, so the users only need to focus on how we use the factory. So this is kind of like how this is a good example, and this is a link can do some practice. So we have the interface food, and what kind of type food you have to implement it. Override the get type interface. And then we have the abstract class, which is called factory. And the factory need to, like current here is called like food factory, to extend the factory. You have to override it. And then this factory will have the function, which is what is the factory doing here. And for the solutions, you can see here, factory, right? New factory, we can create a new factory. and based on the users what they input, and the factory will call the orders, get orders based on the pizza or cake. Then the factory will create the food for you. So you don't need to the new that object by yourself. For the vehicle, it's also the same. This is the interface, right? So get type interface for define the product, and the car need to implement the vehicle, and you have to override the functions in the interface. It's kind of like you have to implement it. This one interface just kind of like tell you the rule, you have to implement it. And for the truck, right? For the abstract class, it's they have some functions inside. You also need to implement it, but use the extends. Okay, so you can see car factory, bike factory, and then you, based on the different factory, you can use the different thing. This is the vehicle. And also there has the abstract factory pattern, which is kind of like extensions about the factory. So in the previous sections, we discussed the factory methods pattern. We defined the top level abstract or factory class that can be extended with the specific factory class for each product type. However, this pattern is limited to the simpler class, where we need to produce multiple relative products. We call product families. Yeah, the factory methods become inefficiency. So previous product is kind of like based on the user's input. We just only create the factory, just only create one factory. For here, it's kind of like they will create multiple product, not just only one. You can see here, like this is kind of like a Xiaomi product. Xiaomi means the brand of the iPhone, and Huawei is also brand of iPhone. This is iPhone, right? This is iPad. It also have the Huawei iPad and Xiaomi iPad. And airport also have the Huawei airport and the Xiaomi airport. So these products often come in the family. For instance, Xiaomi product lines include the Xiaomi 12 phones and Xiaomi tablets, while Huawei includes Huawei phones and tablets. Using the factory here, we require creating 9 separate factories to produce each individual product, which is time consuming and inefficiency. So to address this, we can use the abstract factory. This pattern allows us to group multiple relative products within a single factory organized by the product family. For example, a Xiaomi factory could produce all the Xiaomi factory like phones, tablets, and routers, while Huawei factory could do the same for the Huawei product line. So let's set up the factory structure like router, right, tablet, and then abstract factory, they will have the multiple products. So with this setup, a single factory can produce all of the products with the same family, make it more efficiency than the factory method pattern for the complex product family. So advantage is consistency. The factory products that belong to the same family ensure the consistency in the product line. Ease of the management. Adding the new product to a specific family requires change only right in the family, within the family factory. And also have the drawback, definitely. If we add a new product to each family, we must add a new methods in every factory, which violates open closure for as the factory class are not longer close to the modification. So based on the trade-off, you have to pick up the right way to implement. Yeah, this is kind of like another example here. This example is like interface food, and the cake extend the food, right? And interface pizza, this is product. And for the factory, right, we have the Chinese cake. For the product, we have the Chinese cake, China pizza, Italy cake, Italy pizza. So factory can create the two things at the same time. So we have the Chinese food factory and also have the Italy food factory. And those factory, they are produce the multiple product, not just only one. So this is the abstract factories patent. Yeah, so the question is kind of like, what is a factory design pattern? Why do we use factory? How do we use the design pattern in your application? So what is? The factory design pattern is creational pattern that provides an interface for creating objects in a superclass, but allows superclass to alert the type of object that will be created. It's encapsulate instance of logic. Yeah, the purpose for the factory is to hide the new. And why we use this? Remove the direct dependency, avoid the new keywords everywhere. Yeah, the client don't need to know how the specific class name. Second is kind of like an open-close principle, easy to introduce the new type of product without breaking the existing client code. It's kind of like if you want to add a new product or create something, you don't need to change other thing. There has some depends on the class, but if you use this way, if you just change the factory, everywhere you use the factory, they will just automatically change. You don't need to change manually. And for the single responsive principle, is move to the object creation code to one place. Right, so yeah, this is the single principle to factory purpose to create objects, new the instance. How to use? When you don't know beforehand the exact type and depends on objects, your code should work with this. Example, in the Spring application, Big Five, a Bing factory and application contacts are the larger scale example. In business logic, we have the multiple payment methods, right? We can use the payment factory to return the correct payment process. Like a client wants to payment by the credit card, want to pay by the Apple Pay. So based on that, we have the payment factory. They will help the clients. I can help you to do that process, new transfer or something. And the client don't need to know how the payment work. So this is purposeful here. Okay, provide example. This one, yeah, fruit, right? Apple implement this and fruit this is interface. So you have to implement the interface. And the factory is kind of like you have to, based on the user's input, you have to choose the right type and return the something. So what's between a factory answer? Okay, difference between factory and abstract factory design pattern. Yeah, the factory methods just to create one product. You can see here, just create one product, apple or orange. And create family, you can see here if you use the abstract factory, you can create the Chinese apple, and Italy apple, Italy orange, Italy apple. So it's kind of like created at least the two products at one time. Use initialize, right? Use composite factory object creating project. This is simpler. Yeah, there's more complexity. Fruit factory create apple or orange. Electric factory create phones, tablets, right? Well, let's see some here. I write something here. This is the this is the food to create the pizza something here. Cake made in China something. It's the same interface food, cake extends pizza. This is the abstract factory. So Chinese cake, right? Chinese cake has two things. And then we have the factory. Abstract factory, we created the food. And we have the Chinese factory, and it will create a cake and pizza. Not only, it has at least two products. Italian food factory same. It create at least two products. Okay, so the food is here, same here. But you say write in the different. See, this is the food is the. Yeah, this can say abstract. I will treat it like an interface better. So this is the abstract, right? Instead the fruit factory. And then when the client, this is a client, how to use this. So it's just get. And also this is example of the here. Bike, car, truck. This is a product and car factory. We have to return the new one. And for the truck, you have to implement this is vehicle is the interface. And for the factory, it is abstract. Yeah, abstract for the factory, and for the product, use the interface. And the main is kind of like how to call that. Yeah, this is the factory about the methods pattern. Thank you.